All right, welcome back to the Dirt and Vert podcast with East Coast Adventures. I'm David.
And I'm Matt.
We got a special guest today, Andrew Nelson. I'm going to let Matthew take us off today.
So Andrew, I guess you're a seasoned runner. Would you say that?
Somewhat.
Uh, Looking at your ultra sign up, you got a pretty long list here. And so how did you get into running? Like what changed you? What made you get into it?
I started running in high school, middle school and high school, but kind of fell out of it after I graduated. And then when I was 29, I weighed about 270 pounds. I kind of decided I needed to do something different. So I went out to the track and did a 5-mile run walk, run the straights and walk the curves. I got that runner's high, and it kind of made me want to get back into it.
So what year was that, or how old were you?
2017. Yeah, I was 29.
Yeah. Okay. So where are you originally from, or where do you live at?
Central Kentucky.
Central Kentucky. So I guess no business is kind of just right down the road from you.
Yeah, the midpoint of the Deltoid Trace is about 15 minutes from my house. So
that's easy training ground.
Yeah, dude, that's like home turf training, isn't it?
Yeah, I had a little bit of an advantage. I can do Blue Heron in about an hour 15, and then the harder parts to get into is about an hour and a half, hour 40.
That's good.
So for everyone that doesn't know, Andrew just finished the No Business 100, and Andrew has a really cool story. If you look at his No Business 100 career, I guess you've ran the race twice, three times. So what I do know is the last 2 years you podiumed both years. Now the other time that you ran it, what was your finishing time on it? Did you do as well?
4th place. I got passed in the last 10 miles.
That's kind of like what you did to me last year.
Yeah. Because I had a couple of really good runners right behind me going into the finish.
Well, so last year Andrew podiumed. He finished 2nd place, right in front of me. He actually passed me. I remember this vaguely because I had not seen anybody in hours. And then a gentleman with a pacer comes flying by me at about mile 80-ish, 75, 80, somewhere around in there. And I was like, wow. So when I get to the end, I meet Andrew. And then this year, Andrew finished 3rd place. So back-to-back years, got the double buckle and podiumed both years. So that's pretty impressive, man. And what was your finishing time this year?
22:35.
And what was it last year?
21:51. Yeah. And then 2019 was a 22:04. But it was a lot easier in 2019. Because they had
so being a veteran of the race, which direction you think's harder? The direction we just did or last year?
Last year, but not by much. I mean, it's neither way easy.
No, 100 miles is never easy, period. So did you do any type of training different? So can you tell us a little bit about your training last year? And if you did any different training this year and, how you prepared for the race?
Last year, I was able to get in a lot more miles and a lot more workout up until about 5 weeks before the race. I took a fall helping my dad build an extension onto his dock. And I took a 2x10 to the ribs and most likely broke my ribs. And that kept me out from any real running for about 5 weeks before the race. I actually didn't have a pain-free run until the week of the race last year. But I had a lot more training leading up to it than I did this year.
How many miles were you averaging a week back then?
Probably an 80.
That's pretty good training block.
Yeah.
And then this year you weren't close to that?
No, I had injury in March that kept me out until June, and I got back going in June and put in a few good weeks, but nothing compared to last year. I did get in a few 80, 90-mile weeks, but nothing like I had last year going into last year. So I was kind of hesitant on going out with the lead pack this year.
Yeah, I went out with the lead pack for the first 3 miles and then just wasn't feeling it from there. So I had a really rough day out there.
This racing, you can't really sit back too much because the creek crossing pretty early and then the creek bottom single track. If you start towards the back, you're going to be in a conga line.
Yeah, that's what I was concerned about. So the direction we ran this year, you start out and you run down the gravel road into a field and then a gravel road a little bit longer, and then you just cut down a mountain and you run right into a creek. And if you're not, in the middle of the pack or the front of the pack, you're going to, like Andrew just said, you're going to get caught in the conga line. And that's okay if you're not trying to place in like the top 10, but if you are, that's the last thing you want to do is get caught behind some people that, their goal is just to finish.
Yeah.
And because they're going to walk.
Mm-hmm.
How long is that section?
It's a pretty good little section. I mean, it's about, what was it, Andrew? About 2.5, 3 miles to get to it. And then it's maybe all in all, it's less than a half a mile to get down the hill and across the river, I think.
Yeah.
Not even a half, probably. What, quarter?
Yeah. And then after that, you got quite a bit of single track.
Yeah, so you just don't want to get caught in the back.
There. Gotcha.
So what was your lowest point in the race this year?
Right before Laurel Hill, which going up into that aid station from either direction is hard because you've got that big climb. And then the thought process of, I'm really tired and I've got a long way to go still kind of started creeping into my head.
So how did you convince yourself to keep running?
Oh, I had pierogies and a pacer.
Is that like the keys to the kingdom there?
Pierogies sound pretty good.
From Ledbetter on to the finish, I went into every aid station yelling, "Do you have pierogies?"
Is that your food of choice?
Yeah, I had never had one until last year. And somebody asked me if I wanted one. I was like, yeah, sure, I'll try anything at this point.
Yeah, I didn't even know what a pierogi was last year.
No, I didn't until Spring Hill Aid Station.
That is like a stuffed shell, right?
Tell him what a pierogi is. Matt still don't know what a pierogi is.
That's what I'm thinking when I think about it, like a stuffed kind of shell.
Yeah, it's like a ravioli stuffed with mashed potatoes.
Yeah, it's pretty fun. That's what I was thinking in my head. So you get pasta and you get mashed potatoes.
So was that your only low moment, or did you have quite a few?
No, that was pretty much it. Yeah, after that I had a pacer. Kevin Lashley got me to Bandy, and then I thought it was too far up to get anybody else, so I was just kind of cruising along until Sawmill, which is about mile 88. And then I caught up to the fourth place guy there. And by the time I was going into the aid station, my crew was yelling at me that third place was 7 minutes ahead of me. So I kind of had the kick in the rear end to keep going there, to keep me from hitting any low points.
Yeah.
Well, you finished strong. You made a huge charge. So did you have a strategy going into the race? Were you like holding back the first 50 to run harder in the last 50, or were you just doing whatever you could do?
Definitely. From the top of the hill at Duncan to the finish, I knew was most of the runnable miles of the course. So I kind of kept saying to myself, just be able to run at Duncan, which is at mile 62. And so once I got there, I kind of started trying to get going. But
would you say that you're a better climber or a better just like all-out runner, just on the flats, just getting it?
It has to be slow, rugged terrain for me to do well. Yeah, these guys that I'm running with, if we were on a flat marathon, they'd toast me. But if it's slow and technical and soft ground and a lot of rocks, I prefer that.
Well, obviously, I mean, you did great every time you ran this race, and when me and Matt Ultra Sign Up stalked you, you've had some really good finishes. It looks like you ran the pistol back in the day. You had a pretty good time in it too. What was it, the 50K in 4 hours something?
407.
I just kind of filled out in that one and didn't go all out. And then I hopped in and paced a friend of mine. He was doing the 100 afterward.
So that was just your warm up run to go help pace him.
Yeah, he wound up doing in 17 hours and some change.
Oh wow!
That course is fast.
Yeah, it is. That's a 10-mile loop that if you do the 100-mile, you'll never forget it. So, going back to no business real quick, what advice would you give to a new runner? So, we've got some people that listen to this that have talked about wanting to run no business.
Myself included.
Yep. Mr. Williams here. But what advice would you give to a new person going out to no business that's going to run it next year?
Don't get in a hurry and don't trust the lap splits that your watch is giving you. Because you'll be at a full run and look down and it'll say you're doing an 18 or 20-minute mile when it isn't right. There's just so much tree cover and so many rock shelters and things that messes with the GPS.
Yeah, I noticed that a few times too. Mine would say like 27 minutes. When I would look, when I saw my Strava, it was more like 13 minutes. And I was like, oh, well, I wasn't walking as slow as I thought I was.
Oh, yeah. You thought you were just dying and you're really running 13-minute pace.
Yeah.
That'd get to your head.
Yeah.
Well, and what was interesting this year, though, is it just literally, it poured rain all night before the race. So all those leaves, had fallen on the ground. All the bridges were covered in leaves. They were slick. I mean, that's what happened to me at mile 50. Right going up to Laurel Hill, I fell on that bridge. There was like a platform in front of it or something. I can't remember exactly. It was dark, but I just remember I fell on that bridge, made it up to Laurel Hill, and I pulled the plug. That's the first 100-miler I've never finished. That would have been my 10th one, and got my first DNF.
Yeah.
But I got to wait now, Andrew. I got to wait till 2025 to go back to get this double buckle.
Maybe that's when I'll go. 2025. It won't be next year.
No, you got to run it next year and 2025, and we'll get the double buckle together.
2025 and 2026.
Tell him, Andrew, he needs to sign up now.
Well, yeah. And you got
what's next on your radar?
I think the next A race is the pistol. I'm gonna try for the.
What distance are you doing?
The 100K.
100K.
Yeah. See,
you're not gonna do the double barrel. Try to do both.
I can't handle that much pavement.
I understand.
I feel that.
When we did Ball State this year, I pretty much have decided I won't run on pavement for a really long time for the rest of this year and possibly even next year. That was rough.
That's an awful lot of business. It's nice, soft trail.
Yeah, that's just such a beautiful trail too, though. For people that have never ran it, I mean, Big South Fork and all that, it's a super pretty area. The trails are runnable. I mean, yeah, they're rocky and there's some pretty decent climbs in there, but I mean it's almost all runnable.
And there isn't a bad part of the course.
No, just that 9-mile stretch with no aid after Laurel Hill. That's a pretty rough stretch, but other than that, it's pretty good.
Yeah, and you end it with the Duncan climb.
Yep. What elevation did your watch tell you had?
It was like 12,000. But
yeah, I think it's more like really 14. I think is what Brian said, but
pretty much anywhere you run out there, you get about 150 feet a mile, 140.
Now, does anybody else in your family run, Andrew?
My dad did years ago, but it was before ultras were even a thing around here. So did Boston 4 times type deal, but never any ultras.
Hey, Boston's pretty impressive though.
He must have been pretty fast on the road.
It must be where you get your speed from.
What little speed I got.
All right. Well, tell us a little bit then. Let's if pistol's next on the radar, what does that training block look like? What do you got in mind if you're going for road? You're going from trail to road. So are you going to start working on speed? And what do you think your training is going to look like for that?
I'm hoping to do a lot more workouts throughout the week. Get back into that. Haven't done any really since last spring, so some longer threshold efforts and try to get my mileage up to consistently in that 80, 90 mile range. Try to really rededicate myself to getting ready for the race.
Do you like threshold runs? Is that kind of your thing?
Yeah, that's the confidence builder run.
I really enjoy those. Well, we were ultra sign up stalking you.
Yep.
And I did notice a few races on here I was going to ask you about. So Norris Damn Hard Trail Race, you did the 50K. You had a really good finish on it, 5 hours and 31 minutes. Now that race has got a lot of elevation.
Yeah.
Is that so?
Yeah.
I just have a question for you. So when you're doing, like you were just talking about, threshold runs for your pistol training, do you do the same thing for trail races too when you're getting ready for those? Do you practice a lot of threshold runs, or do you focus more on climbing?
When I had my best finish at Crooked Creek a couple of years ago, I was doing a lot of long threshold runs, and that really got me ready for it. So, and last year I did some shorter stuff before No Business, and then this year I had no workouts at all. So I'm kind of going the wrong direction. So I'm trying to get back to that.
Well, I understand that. It's easy to let some of those little things slip. You have some good races, you start racing, and then life happens.
Mm-hmm.
But
we'll
get back to it. So I see on here you finished 4th place at Falls 100. What is Falls 100? I've never heard of this race.
It's no longer a race. It got replaced by Crooked Creek because they couldn't keep it going in the place it was at. It was at Western Kentucky Falls of Rust. And it was actually closer to 105-mile race. But they got to do it twice. The first year, it came a monsoon the night before, 3-4 inch rain, and it's on 4-wheeler trails. So they were destroyed. And then during another inch or 2 rain. So there was only 21 of us in the race, and 3 of us finished. And that was the year I got second place with a 33:41. It was that bad.
Well, I mean, you were going to be top 3 if only 3 people finished. So that's pretty impressive. 3 out of 21.
Yeah, second to last and second to first. And it was my first 100-mile finish. And the other 2 guys that finished with me had done races like Cruel Jewel, stuff like that, and were really just strong runners. So I was excited that I got to finish with them. But Will Rivera won it.
Will Rivera?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a good runner.
He was rolling at that time.
Yeah, so that's kind of like me in my first 100 miler. So I didn't know what I was doing, and I just get online and I'm looking at buckles. I'm not looking at trails. I'm like, what buckle do I like?
I think you still do that.
Yeah, I do. That's true. That's how I ended up at Blood Rock.
That's exactly how you ended up at Blood Rock.
My very first 100 miler was Warhammer. Well, I can understand why. It was a hard race. I wanted to DNF it. I walked about half of it. Got lost. Man, I got lost. But there was a lot. What I didn't realize when I signed up for the race, I didn't know it was going to be on like the Daniel Boone National Byway and all those 4-wheeler trails and all that. And also there was like, if I remember right, it's been a long time, but there was an absolute insane amount of road running.
Yeah.
I want to think it was like 30 plus miles on the road total. And I wasn't prepared for any of that. I mean, I didn't know what I was doing. Dude, when I did this Warhammer, I showed up I went to Walmart and I bought just whatever pack they had, rinsed it out with water, filled it up with water, completely with water, and took off running. And about halfway through my first aid station section, I started pouring water out, dude. I was like, this isn't happening. I was like, what have I done? And it was just I ended up finishing, but it was rough. Actually, that might have been when I had my first Nathan. Yeah, that's it. That was my first Nathan pack. And it come with like a bladder. I filled that bladder all the way up. I had no idea. So like by the first 5 miles, I'm like, this isn't happening.
Wow.
So I learned a lot of the things the wrong way. I don't know if that's how Falls 100. You said Falls 100 was your first one, right?
My first finish, yeah. I attempted Warhammer before that. Yeah. Was
you attempted Warhammer before Falls 100? Okay, well, so let's just hear it. Tell us the story. Let's hear about the Warhammer 100.
I showed up in road shoot. So
wow.
it was the first year that and I already had a injury to the front of my leg from the first 50 miler I'd ever done, the Big Turtle, like a few weeks before it. And I was not prepared at all. I didn't know what I was getting into. I finished with a dog. I stopped at mile 60 with a dog bite and a sprained ankle.
So what year was that?
Mm-hmm.
What was that? The first year?
Yeah, the first year. Yeah.
Okay. So interesting story. When we showed up the second year, which is when I ran it, because I think Will won it the year that you ran it, if I remember right. But we show up at the start of the race at that pavilion or whatever. I can't remember exactly where it was at now. But they started handing us all pepper spray. and said we had a couple of people get bit last year, and we had one gentleman that got bit really bad. I don't know if that was you, but they gave every runner a bottle of pepper spray, and people still got bit the second year.
Hey, I watched a guy almost get tore up by a boxer, and there was an F-150 came down the road and got between him and the dog, or else he would have been ate alive.
That's awful. And that was during the race?
During the race, right in front of me.
Man, you want to PR your 100-miler, just turn a boxer loose going down.
Get out of there.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you messed up, you said messed up ankle and a dog bite. Where'd the dog bite you at?
Right above my ankle. Like, all the injury going in, I had the sprained ankle and the dog bite within about 6 inches of each other.
Oh, yeah, I would have hung up the towel too.
Yep, done with that.
That's awful. So redemption then was the Falls 100.
Yeah, they were gonna have to pull me off the course, and they almost had a 36-hour cutoff.
So you've got to have a story then of something that you learned in this 100-miler, because we all do. Like I learned not to fill a 3-liter bladder up or whatever size that thing was. What did you learn in that 100-miler?
Just to not give up whenever it got hard. And it was, I left the Warhammer race feeling like I quit, and I didn't want that feeling leaving the fall. So it didn't matter how bad it was going to get; they were going to have to time me out. So, but I was down to a crawl at the end. I think the last 13 miles took me 7 hours, and I was moving the whole time. But
what did third place finish in?
he was about an hour behind me.
Yeah, what place was he? So he was fourth place in the Falls 100.
Oh, he was second that year.
Yeah. Oh, you've done it multiple years.
Yeah, I did.
Wow.
Really good guys. Greg Milby and Jeff Proctor put it on. They were
So it went from 33 hours and 40 minutes to just 2 years later in 24 hours.
Yeah.
Well, you can't say that was the power of a pierogi. So what was the difference there?
That's big difference.
It was a lot better weather.
Was your training better though? Was that a big key factor?
I was able to handle higher mileage. I was able to get in some 80, 90 mile weeks.
Is that kind of your sweet spot? I know every runner is slightly different. Some people, thrive at 50 to 70, some at 80 to 90, some, I mean, you take Chris Damon, you look at his Strava today, he's averaging 122 miles a week. So, it's different for everybody. So is 80 to 90 yours?
Yeah.
Roughly?
If I can do 100, I can do it a week or so, and then things start to come apart. And if I do that 50 to 70 range, I honestly will get fat and out of shape. I mean, I like myself being slow. So.
I don't think I've ever heard anybody say that they would get fat and out of shape running 50 to 70 miles a week.
You can see what I eat in a day.
Well, that is true.
So yeah, let's talk about that for a minute. So that's one thing we haven't hit on. What I know you had some pierogies and stuff, but going into no business or your other races, what's your typical fueling strategy and what's your hydration of choice?
Tailwind, 1 bottle of Tailwind, 1 bottle of water, and Snickers bars, kids gummy snacks, gels, pretty much anything I can grab hold of. That's my one strength I can handle. I have to get usually at least 300 calories an hour, and when I'm doing my best,
Wow,
400.
Are you counting your Tailwind in those calories?
Yeah.
Okay.
But I was trying to run with a bunch of guys at 150, 160. I have to get in a lot more calories than they do.
Yeah, I mean, I'm 200 to 300 calories an hour myself. No business last year, and even this year, even though I wasn't running nowhere as fast as I was last year. Last year I was hitting a goo every 20 minutes.
Yeah,
I ran out of goos in the first 30 miles, and I had taken almost a box with me.
I remember you ordering that box. You said taking them all.
I come unglued after that, but yeah, I mean, same. I mean, if you're running hard, 200 to 300 calories is sweet spot. But I know some people now, man, there's a couple of these runners that they're getting 400 to 500 calories an hour, and I don't think my stomach could handle that.
I couldn't.
Yeah, I guess you could train it, but whew.
Right now I couldn't handle that much. I'd be throwing up everywhere.
At
More than I already do.
I mean, I'm nauseous the whole time trying to get it, but
yep.
If I do that, I can usually hold it.
Yeah, you don't ever try the high fiber stuff while you're running?
No.
High fiber RX bars and like Stamen or high fiber tortilla shells.
So have you always used Tailwind? Is Tailwind kind of your favorite?
Scott Buser introduced it to me in 2019, right before the race. I've used it ever since.
Hey, it works for a lot of people, and everybody's slightly different. I mean, at the end of the day, it's calories and salt. So, it's both that you need. Everybody has a different preference on that. So, like no business, they use Sword. And Sword was something that was what I first started with. I can't really drink a whole lot of it anymore. And that's not a knock on Sword. It's just, I got to have a little variety. I switch my hydration mix every few years just to change it up. And I've always been like that. I got hooked on Scratch for a while. I did Tailwind. I did Sword. I'm currently using Goo Roctane. That's the one I'm on right now. And at some point I'll come full circle and come back. But it's, or they'll just keep coming out with new ones and I'll keep trying them. So we'll see. Yeah. But it's all different. Matt's hooked on Hoist. He takes a Hoist with him everywhere.
Hoist.
I think he's pretty much duct taped that bottle to his hand.
And that's who sponsors East Coast for our events as well as Hoist. And these bottles, this blue raspberry bottle, is money. I could drink that sucker. I think I went through a case or something at Georgia Jewel. plus the goo octane, but you get the hoist and new life comes.
So after pistol, what else? You got anything else? You got any goals next year besides pistol you want to do?
Southern States 200, but that's what the race more than experience. So it's going to be try to go as hard as I can at pistol and then just hold fitness for Southern States and go out and enjoy it.
Well, what's funny, Andrew, is since the start of this podcast, all I've been talking about is that I'm going to run Southern States 200 this coming year. But I've come full circle, and I'm not sure I'm going to run Southern States 200 this year or this coming year. So
something different, crazy.
Yeah, I probably should just quit saying what I'm going to do. But after the last few weeks, I think I'm going to do some other things. But Southern States is on my radar, man. David Tosh is a great race director, anyways. I ran Blood Rock last year, and I mean it was just a well put on race. And he's such just a down to earth guy. He's a great race director, and I can only imagine that race is going to be awesome. And that's one of the reasons I wanted to run it. I mean, there's not many point to point 200 miles 200 mile races that are this close to us. Mm-hmm. So if you do it, man, let me know. I'm gonna have to come pace you if I don't run it.
Yeah, you're welcome to. Yeah, that'd be an honor.
I'll show up with Snickers and tailwind, and maybe a pierogi.
Whole bag of pierogies.
Time she's doing the laundry and she keeps finding Snickers wrappers. I guess I didn't empty my pockets anymore.
Hey, that's what my wife does with my goo wrappers. When I go on my long runs, I'll put them back in my compression shorts. She'll wash it and she'll pull it out. She'll, what is this? I'm like, forgot to take them out. Sorry. that's a
right now in Southern States. Like you can tell they're really going all out trying to get it organized and ready to go. And that's kind of what made me go ahead and sign up for it.
Oh, are you already signed up?
Yeah.
I mean, he's not playing around.
Man,
I can't even talk Matthew into doing no business, and you already signed up for a Southern States 200. I'm impressed, Andrew.
So, Andrew, I got big goals next year.
Bigger than a 200 miler?
Way bigger than 200. We'll worry about that in a couple of years. But it's to do 4 marathons in Tennessee: the Memphis, the Chattanooga, the Knoxville, and Nashville, and qualify for Boston for 2025. And then we'll go back to these mountain stuff. That's what I like doing anyway. I like running fast, but mountain stuff's pretty cool.
I've done Knoxville.
When'd you do it?
Knoxville in 2018, Nashville in 2017.
Cool.
How'd you do?
Well, Nashville was my first run coming back from 270 pounds, so it was like 4 hours and some change. And then Knoxville, I did a 303.
Wow, man, Knoxville's a hilly course too.
Yeah.
303.
Yeah, 2 weeks later, I did my first ultra, Yamacross.
Oh, did you really?
Yeah.
He said he wasn't fast on the road. That's pretty fast on the road.
He's got good genes, man. His dad went to Boston like 4 times.
He only missed it by what? I don't know what the standard was then, but now he only missed it by 3 minutes.
Yeah,
did you ever have any desire to want to run Boston?
I qualified with the Bowling Green race, but I could have went, but I decided not to. 56 at Bowling Green, but ended up not going.
Hopefully that's what I do next year, and then we'll be back to suffering and climbing mountains and doing all that fun stuff.
So what kind of gear do you normally run with, Andrew?
Handheld.
Do you have a certain pack or handheld or anything you trust the most? Or
I had these little Nike handhelds that were about 20 ounces that I love, and I can't find them anymore. I think they discontinued them. Mm-hmm. They were my favorite. And then the Ultra Spire waist slide, my must-have. That thing, especially on no business course with the rocks and the leagues and everything, it's a handy to have. And then a little $8 Amazon fanny pack.
I didn't even notice the fanny pack. Did you have it on?
at the start and then to Peters because I knew I was going to have to go 10 miles between Blevins and Peters with only the handhelds for water. So I had a little stove pack of water. And then leaving Blue Heron to Vandy, I had it with a little stove bottle of water because there was a couple of long stretches there.
That's so you ran. Is that the only hydration you used was your handhelds?
Oh yeah, yeah. I'm gonna have to learn to run with the pack for Southern State, but I'm putting it off as long as I can.
Yeah, I'm sure there will be some 20-mile stretches there. Probably, I would imagine it's going to be hard to. I mean, I just don't know if you can have the manpower to put an aid station every 10 miles. So,
yeah,
I was listening to that Sally McRae podcast today about her doing the Moab 240, and it was 25 miles with no aid station. And I guess I don't guess you run out of water, but
you
25
might,
miles.
Andrew, you might need the pack and the fanny pack.
Yeah,
And the handhelds.
And the handhelds.
And
You may need it all. So.
Yeah. The one I got's got the couple liter bladder and then the big handhelds in the front.
Yeah.
Man, what a change that's going to be. So you're going to run a 50K road race,
100K,
and then a 100K road race, and then turn around and run a 200-mile point-to-point trail race.
Yeah,
that'll be an interesting training block for you. Building up to that, you think you'll will you be doing a lot of? You think you'll do a lot of threshold runs then, or are you going to have to do? You're going to practice a lot of walking. That's one thing I wished I would have done at Ball State was, practice walking a little more, but that was not on my radar. I'm like, I'm running this race. Yeah. You can't run 300 miles.
We tried.
I'm going all in on pistol to try to basically going to be on long marathon training and then just see what happens at Southern State. They give me 4 days. I'll use it all if I need it.
Is it 4 days? Is that what the cutoff is?
Yeah, 4 days before so take my phone along and enjoy it.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you could do it like you ran no business. You literally could run 100 miles in 22 hours, sleep for a day, run another 100 miles. I think a man of your stature, Andrew, that's doable.
That second 100 will be pretty slow and painful.
Yeah, it would definitely be painful. Hopefully, you don't have to worry about any dogs, though.
No. Yeah, I hope they don't have it like Warhammer did.
Yeah, someone told me, so I didn't know this, but someone told me at No Business we were talking about this. But apparently Warhammer's gone. They're not doing the 100-miler anymore. It's just a 50-mile race.
And they changed the name.
Oh, they changed the name too?
Yep.
So what is it called?
I forget what the new name is. Yeah, they had to change the name on all their races because of the fiasco with Rat Ultras.
Oh, I haven't heard this. I'm not sure.
They got bought out. Next Opportunity did by Rat Ultras, and several of my friends paid entry fees and didn't get to run races. And haven't got and Next Opportunity.
Well, that's not good. So did Next Opportunity get their races back? Did they buy them back? Is that what happened?
Yeah, they
good for them. I mean, at least they take pride in their stuff. I mean, when I ran Warhammer, I'm not going to lie. I mean, the course was hard. I mean, it was hard. Like that whole course, but it was a 100-mile race. There was aid everywhere there needed to be aid. I mean, the race director's done a good job. The awards and the medals were awesome. I mean, that's what drew me to the race. It was supposed to be hard. I thought the belt buckle was just absolutely amazing. So, I was like, I'm getting this belt buckle. And I mean, there was no issues.
Big Turtle 50 was one of their big races that they always put it on, and really good race. They took that back over. I think they've renamed it the Sheltroy Ultras. But I think they kind of decided that the name of the races had been tainted by people's experience. under the other race directors, so they've changed them a lot.
Well, I hate that to take a good race and let it go away like that. But at least they're trying to fix it. But that's
they'll be back.
yeah. All right. Well, I got to switch gears here for a minute. Have you ever tried a backyard ultra?
No, but I spent the last 5 days watching.
It's still going on, I think. Right? It hasn't ended? I don't
Was,
think.
it was Harvey and Yuri or something.
I mean, I feel like those guys probably don't even know what day it is right now.
I can't.
They look pretty rough.
So is that motivating you, Andrew? Does that mean that we're going to see Andrew Nelson, the last man standing, next year?
Well, maybe it might be finishing up as we speak. The backyard may be finishing up.
What about you? Or you think that you think you're going to try one?
One day. Yeah. One day.
Got enough on the radar for next year? You
Maybe.
know, is there ever any interest in doing like the Triple Crown of 200s?
Definitely. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
But right now with the wife and 2 kids, it's a little too expensive to get out there.
Yeah. So you actually, I guess your son was at the race, right? At No Business.
Yeah. Yeah, it was his birthday.
Yeah, because he, I think he was running like in and out of the aid stations with you, wasn't he?
Yeah. I had one force feeding me applesauce and the other one running in and out with me. So,
And you said it was one of them's birthday. Is that what I heard you say?
over 20th. After the race, Brian and Shelley stopped and everybody sang them happy birthday at the finish line.
That's
Yeah,
awesome.
That's cool.
Well, I got to say, I mean, spending your birthday in the woods, watching your dad suffer and feeding him applesauces ain't too bad of a gig. And I'm sure he milked that for all it was worth after the race.
And they got out of school that day.
Oh yeah, I guess because it was a Friday start. So nice.
They went around Blue Heron and gathered up a bunch of coal and took it all back. They had a piece of coal for every one of their classmates. They had a good old time with it.
How did you enjoy that water section where the bridge was out?
Leaving and going up that 300 and some foot climb with wet feet in that soft dirt. Oh, it was horrible. I think that was my slowest mile of the whole race.
Yeah, leaving back out of there was kind of like almost a little bit of a death march, getting across that water and then up that sand. And then I actually carried a pair of socks with me.
Did you really?
Yeah. After I got up the top of the hill, I sat down and put dry socks on. I gave my shoes just a few minutes to dry out and changed my socks out. It was what was interesting to me though, and it's probably just like where I stopped to rest. And I don't know if you noticed this too, Andrew, but on the way in, I didn't realize, I didn't pay no attention to the water. I was right across it, just marched right on through. Way back, that water felt 20 degrees colder to me.
Yeah.
Did you notice that? Like
the first time, but the second time I was falling all over myself too.
Yeah, I was sitting there and I was like, Nick was still in the water taking pictures, and he's like, "What took you so long?" I was like, facing myself, Nick, and I started walking across the water, and I was like, "Man, that is cold." Like, I don't remember that on the way in.
Wow.
But I got a feeling it's going to be like that for a little while because it's going to take a long time to rebuild that bridge.
I had ran across it 10 days before the race, and everything seemed fine. I was shocked when they closed it.
Yeah, I wonder if it was just because of the sheer volume of people that were going to be going across it potentially at the same time.
Maybe.
I don't know.
What was wrong with it? Like
they deemed it unreliable, I guess, is what.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they took it. They actually boarded it up. You couldn't even get on the bridge.
Wow.
So that's why Brian and them had to put the creek crossing in, and they put a rope across. It really wasn't that bad, though. I mean, the creek was like just, I mean, he was saying shin deep. I mean, it was barely over the top of your shoe, ankle deep. Like, it wasn't bad at all.
Well, we made the Blue Heron Loop a little easier this year. I guess to compensate for the added. They let us stay up higher on the flat rail trail part instead of going down to the river on the single track. So that kind of made up for a few minutes of it.
Yeah.
What they But my buddy's got the KOM on Strava across Blue Heron, the Tipple. And the first thought I had whenever they closed it down was, if that was my last time to do it, I should have gave it heck and see if I took it from.
Well, it's not going to be your last time to do it, Andrew. You just got to keep going back. They'll open that section back up shortly.
I climb around the band that they got and give it a shot.
But I guess, so you ran the race 3 times total. Will you go back one more time to get two double buckles?
Yeah, I'll go back. Yeah.
I figured. I mean, you can't just leave one up in the air.
Yeah. And I've done it 2 other times where I paced about 30-some miles on the course with a friend. So, I mean, I've been there 5 straight years. I'll be there in some facet every year. It's just too special a race. I mean, Brian and Shelley have something really special there.
Yeah, and I mean, they do a great job. It's a well put on race. It really, I mean, it's just a well put on race too, and that helps.
And the aid stations are perfect, especially Laurel Hill, Vandy. They get rocking.
Well, what's on the radar short term?
Crooked Creek.
Just Crooked Creek. When is that?
It's a little race outside Louisville.
And when is it?
December 2nd or 3rd. So, but I'm just gonna do the marathon there and go have fun, spend some time with some friends.
Awesome.
Yeah.
You gonna take the kids with you so they can crew you?
Too cold.
It is cold that time of year.
No.
Is that the race that has the advertisement with the little deer on it?
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's popped up in my Facebook feed a few times.
It's a nice little small town filler race.
So what's your favorite race that you've done so far? In all the races you've done, what's your favorite?
No business. Yeah. It's got everything. Everything you would want to have.
And what's the hardest race you've ever done?
First year of the fall. I mean, I've never been in that rough of shape. I probably never will.
Let's hope not.
Well, I end with a few questions here, but I got to tell you, like, I'm really impressed with how you did last year and this year at No Business, man. It's a heck of an accomplishment to finish podium 2 years in a row on a 100-mile race. You didn't get the training you wanted this year, and you still powered through it. Powered through it with your perogies and your Snicker bar, but I mean, you made it happen, and that's pretty impressive. And hats off to you. And we really just wish you the best, especially for the Southern States 200. Man, we'll be following along on that journey. And if you ever want to do a last man standing, us in the long run, we're putting one on now. So just holler at us if you ever want to do one.
When is that?
It's November 4th. We're going to do it every year, start going forward, though. It's in Allert, Tennessee. It's called Barn Creek Backyard Ultra. And so East Coast Adventures in the long run, which Ethan and Julia run the long run, Ethan Coffee. So we're going to, this will be the inaugural year this year. And then going forward, we'll have it every year. But if you ever want to do one, just holler at us. We'll make sure we get you a spot in there. Be a good one.
I may drive down and check it out.
Yeah, if you get time on November 4th, come hang out with us. You can see it. You can hang out with me and Matt and Ethan and everybody. Yeah. We'll all be there to start finish line, and we'll have a good beverage and sit by the fire. That's the best part about a backyard ultra. You don't have to go anywhere, Andrew. You just sit right there and wait on them to come back to you.
Yep.
4:30.
Well, do you have any questions at all for us, or anything that we can do better other than more podcast issues of last week with Ethan, it took us like 5 minutes to get the camera working,
Yep.
or 10,
Yeah. Yep.
which I understand that, but for some reason with Andrew today, it was the microphones, and not Andrew, but with the podcast with Andrew, neither microphone would hardly work, and then we got them working, then we couldn't hear anybody.
Nope.
But we're alive now. But do you have any questions or anything for us, or anything we can do better?
Keep it going, man.
Yep.
Well, Andrew, we really appreciate your time. And if there's anything we can ever do for you, please reach out. Southern States 200. If you need a pacer, we're not too far from that place. Let us know.
It's right up the road.
Bring you a message.
And also, we live right beside the pistol course, so you'll probably see us there at some point.
If you see me falling down, just pick me up and point me in the right way.
David will give you one of his motivational speeches. He'll yell at you and do all this great stuff, and then you'll be running.
I'm not, so I'll just be up front, Andrew. My motivational speeches include a lot of words that probably shouldn't be on this podcast.
Mm-hmm.
Matthew's had it a few times.
Mm-hmm.
Mike's had it a few times. I think it really works for them, though.
Yeah.
You'll have to let me know if you ever get one of my speeches. Just let me know what you think. Have you ever been given one of those speeches, or have you ever gave one of those speeches?
Got one or two for my wife before.
Oh, nice. In a race?
Oh yeah. Yeah, she'll grab
Man,
hold
she sounds like a good crew person. I like her.
My wife just laughs at me. She
Well,
says, "You do this to yourself."
Has she been pretty hard on you?
No, she knows what to say and when to say it.
Oh yeah, that's what I meant. Like, she gives you tough love. Though is what I meant. I guess I should have been more clear when I say hard. But she gives you the true hard love that you need, right?
Yeah, she'll grab me by the shirt collar and tell me the guy in front of me is an a-hole and tell me to get going. Yeah.
I love it.
That's pretty good.
That's the perfect partner to have in a race. That's awesome. Well, Andrew, Matt, you got any other questions?
No, I think that's it. I know him coming to Pistol, I'm sure we'll be up there, so we'll see him then.
Yeah, if we ain't working, I'm sure we'll make our way over to help with something, volunteer, since that's a Brian and Shelley race now too. So
Mm-hmm. The main reason I'm going out to it is to support them.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, you'll definitely see us there. Well, Andrew, take care, man. Thank you so much for being on the podcast, and I'm sure we'll have you on here again at some point.
Yep.
Thank you, brother.